if you can go against your parents, then you won the game. You know, if you can go against that final boss for whatever your pursuit is, then you win the game. Welcome to the Entertained Podcast, where we explore optimism from different perspectives. This is episode number 3. I'm your host, Anthony Thomas. And in episode number 1, I sat down with my mother, who shared a ton of great insight, including how to pass on values down to children. Episode number 2, we explored how different levels of honesty are going to bring us different levels of our personal and relationship development success. In this spontaneous episode, I sat down with Jack Iverson Unger, and this was immediately after we worked together on a product photo shoot that we were both booked on. So this was not planned. This was very spontaneous, and there's actually some pretty good gold nuggets in here for those of you that might be facing some challenges. Jack is going to share with us some of the challenges of pursuing your passion when your parents don't immediately support your path and how he navigated those complexities. You can find Jack on Instagram at @theblazingblasian. There's a little foreshadowing for you. Here's Jack. I understand you were raised just outside of Portland, raised on a farm?
Yeah.
Or a ranch?
It's a farm.
Farm. Okay, so...
My brother says we'd rather be dirt farmers than shit farmers. I'd think about that for a second. And he still explained it to me. I didn't know what that quite meant. And then it hit home. It's like, all right, I'll bust it out today, and then we can chill in the winter. All right, let's see.
That's real.
That's real. That's why they do what they do. They like the vacation in the winter, go to Hawaii, for maybe a month.
Why not? I mean, like, hey, man, we'll just chill. We'll turn the crops later. And, come back.
Especially out here in Portland. It's always wet.
Yeah. If you break, that's the key is you break the winter up. Winter up here, everybody talks about how terrible it is and everything. It's just like, it's honestly not terrible unless you can't escape it. Like if you go the whole winter and you stay here, it's tough. It's
wow. It's a gray and being inside, man.
You don't see the sun. There's so much. But if you break the winter up, you go take a trip somewhere where the sun is shining, and it's like Portland's pretty tight.
Yeah.
Like
I love coming back to Portland.
Yeah.
It's definitely home.
Yeah, for sure. Same. So was that kind of the style, the upbringing for you? Was like we would farm, we would hit our crop, and then wintertime we would
6 days a week. Most weeks, and then church on Sunday and repeat. Church sometimes a few times a week, but I'd be working, after school when I come home, do the chores, have a list of chores, get rewarded with the snack when I come home, and then, be bang, bang, bang. My parents were very, just organized and just punctual. I wouldn't say punctual, we relate quite often to things, but like very just on point with what needed to be done that and still, where I'm at now, what I needed to do, kind of.
Yeah,
I think I've grasped a little bit.
Yeah. So they were pretty hefty on like, this is the absolute to-dos, right? You have to take care of this. These are the other things that was every day.
Yeah, it was very structured, a lot of routine. We'd wake up, 6 a.m. coffee. I started drinking coffee real young. Read the Bible. Barely catch the bus before I get to school, and then just be the cycle day after day after day after day after day.
Get home from school, farm, straight to it.
They would already be farming, but as a kid, I would come home, it would be lighter chores for me. It'd be like stack some wood, mow their grass. But in the summer, it was, I was working right with the guys, it'd be berry picking, trapping, moles and gophers, chopping wood again, just stuff like that. I didn't drive tractor until I was older, but a lot of the littler jobs that, less responsibility for me growing up.
Right. This is wild because this like what you described is literally like a hierarchy of a full culture.
Oh, it definitely is.
Where you just said without even second guessing. I wasn't like driving tractor or anything like that at this point. I was just stacking wood and things like. The hierarchy of this is very clear. It was I was doing chores to maintain the wood and everything, keep heat in the house and and there's a hierarchy of this. So. What is the pinnacle for farming? What is the top dog? What do they do? What do they do?
Master grower, do calling the shots. But I would say just being in the trenches with the guys would be like, that's what my dad still does. He probably likes doing like the mucky, dirtiest jobs out there. If he had the choice, but really he's on the phone in the office making calls. That's what he doesn't want to be doing. He'd rather be out there shoveling or doing some, manual labor. That's what he loves to do. So I'd say as a farmer, the top role is just keeping the guys going. Because you have to have someone that's there at that level. But like as a solo farmer, I mean, just be keeping yourself going, I guess, at that point.
Damn, man. So he went from was this a case that he just built the farm big enough to where he now had to handle the I gotta chat with folks at the market, and things like that. And I gotta.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just cell phone call after office call after. I mean he doesn't really do much emailing, but a lot of calls, just on the phone calls. But he started when he was right out of high school. I think Mark, 4th generation or so farmer. I mean it's been in his blood. Like they have a road named after him, Unger Road, up there in Cornelius. If you drive down up there off of 219 Hillsboro, I mean, you'll see it. I mean, there's just like a Century Farm, Unger Farm, and his farm, and it's just that's what they do out there.
Right.
Like he knows what he's doing for sure.
Right. Damn. I don't think I know of anybody that's had a road named after him that's still alive.
It was legacy for sure. I mean, that just shows the work right there.
Yeah, for sure. That's like, Hannah Monroe's. That's like some. Oh man, that's big. So they farm mostly like berries, grains, nuts.
No nuts. Grass seed for like lawns, tall fescue to be exact, and then mainly just blueberries and like wheat, oats, some black caps, aka black raspberries. But yeah, their main crop is blueberries and grains.
Yeah. Okay. And then the name of their farm?
Unger Family Farms Incorporated, I believe.
Unger Family Farms. Okay. So they're farming, and they're it sounds like very devout religious folks that are church going every Sunday, sometimes more often.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with COVID right now, it'd be the Zoom church
Zoom
services.
church.
But yeah, I mean, before COVID times, church like, Sunday and Wednesday, maybe even a Friday thrown there,
Right. Yeah. Right.
Serious.
So your Bible study, your Sunday service, your small groups, everything like this. So they're, logging on. Let me tune in to Joel Osteen while he's, popping in, or whatever might be the equivalent for their church and everything. Right? Yeah. What do you grow?
I mean, I grow cannabis.
Okay.
It has a lot of other names, obviously, but I mean, I call it cannabis.
Cannabis. So weed, hemp, marijuana, the marijuana plant. I mean, there's a lot of different categories here. Can you break this down for us? What is it that you grow, and how do you describe it from what it is that you grow?
Well, I grow, I guess to be all technical, medical marijuana for the state program of Oregon. Out here, we're allowed to grow 6 plants per patient. Right now, I've got 2 patients at my residency where we're allowed to do the 12 plants. So I got a little greenhouse out back, some lights, some heaters, fans, whatnot. And that's THC, so that's psychoactive. Gets you, feeling either relaxed or, a little cerebral change, body high, used for medicinal purposes. I also grow hemp in the summer. CBD, which is non-psychoactive, which is more for anxiety and stress. I mean, I guess all the cannabis could be for stress, but I mean, the target would be for stress for CBD. And that's outdoor. We do that right under the sun, in rows. And that's all dried and cured for smokable flower. So that's like the main product we're producing right now.
Right. Okay. So this is kind of multiple routes, but this is for the sake of simplifying for folks that may not have been introduced to this before, and maybe just listening to this is their first time actually diving into the cannabis industry and what that even looks like. This is the same plant. Is it the same plant that's grown different ways, or is this 2 separate types of plant? Like you have lilies or roses, right? Yeah. Everybody knows roses. You have a red rose, you have a white rose. Is this the same thing that you would say cannabis is, one red rose? And how would you break this down in the most simple terms for folks that don't actually have any familiarity with the industry?
I mean, to break it down simply, I'll just say one gets you high and one doesn't. But I mean, from like a science term or a grower's term, I mean, to be honest, like most growers couldn't probably from an eye test could tell the difference between a hemp plant and a THC plant until they're in flower, until they're making the buds that you ultimately smoke. So from that statement, even then you can get them confused. Like they look very identical. I mean, even the smells are very, very similar these days, like where they've advanced the breeding techniques to bring out the best characteristics and the desirable smells and traits that people, look for when they're shopping. But yeah, once you consume it, if you were a new consumer, you'd probably be able to tell real fast one would probably either settle well with your body or you'd be freaking out a little bit because you're not used to the psychoactive properties of THC. So your body kind of gets used to that. So yeah, break it down kind of from like whatever perspective you're trying to learn about growing or the consumer side of things.
Right. So which one has this is more psychoactive and you'll feel that shift when you consume it versus the other one?
Definitely the THC, hands down, for sure.
Okay. So THC is definitely going to be, THC is the actual psychoactive.
Delta 9 is like the actual molecule of the cannabinoid that gets you high. What you're looking for, if you're that consumer.
Right. Okay. So you come from the family who's growing and farming fruits, right? And grasses and things that, these are like consumer staples for as far back as I can remember. The old nutrition triangle had fruits in there, right?
There was somewhere like not the very bottom or a little higher up, not important.
Yeah. So where would you put cannabis in the nutrition triangle if you were to place it anywhere? And at that level, do you believe that what you're growing, do you believe that this is a healthy thing for the world?
Well, for me, it's probably the biggest part of the pyramid of my consumption of foods and edibles. But yeah, from the standpoint of like commodity crops or what's bringing in revenue, obviously, I think Oregon's their second or first highest crop was cannabis grown here in the state of Oregon. So I'd have to look it up to be exact. It's one or two. I think it's like what it's bringing in, like revenue wise.
Wow,
which is crazy.
It's one of the top two though, for sure.
I believe so. I double checked that, but I think I was told that or seen that stat somewhere. Which didn't surprise me at all.
Right. I feel the same. I feel the same. From California, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, it's a given, at this point, especially because it's such a massive business. And regardless of what your stance is on it, I feel you would be an absolute fool to ignore the vast amount of consumption of it, right?
If you're in a recreational state, you probably would see some sort of positive benefit from it with taxes improving.
Exactly.
Infrastructure or police or schools or whatever.
Wherever it's allocated, right? The fact is the taxes are being collected now, which they weren't for however many decades, centuries even. They're being collected now, and where that gets allocated is secondary, I think, to the importance of, yes, we have this industry that is now being taxed, and it's official, it's legit, and this is the case. Wherever our public officials decide, our treasury departments decide to allocate those funds, that's a different story than is the story of this is how much money is being produced for our state or our county, whatever your community size, whatever that is. So it sounds like, you believe, financially, you believe it's for sure healthy.
Oh yeah, you can't deny that at all. I don't think anyone can deny that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's the point. So what about on I don't want to say necessarily nutritional level.
I'd say more of a holistic point of view or standpoint to look at it, because if you do break cannabis down, it is a flower, it is an herb, it is dried, just like oregano or parsley or cilantro, if that's how you use it, dried. So I'd say it'd be thrown in that equation, not that, with the herb, like you're going to eat cannabis, but in that realm of people are going to consume it every day in their diet, whether it's, before they eat or after they eat or if they don't eat, it's just it's part of their lifestyle, what they need as medicine, whether people want to accept it as that or not. It's medicine to me for sure.
Mm-hmm. So actually, on the very first episode of the podcast, I interviewed my mom. So mom was my first guest, and she's also a cannabis user. So she's been smoking weed for, long before I was even born, but I didn't know that she was a cannabis user. She smoked pot until I was in middle school, and I caught her in the act. which is a story in itself. But she's been medically discharged from both the United States Army as well as the United States Post Office. Medically discharged. And I recall watching, years of my life, I recall the doctors prescribing here this many Vicodin a day, this many morphine pills a day, every day. Up as many as like 8.
Well, that's how I started growing.
No way.
Well, yeah, because I my good friend, the Hills, Brian, Jesse, Scott, they're my good friends. And their mom, Linda, was dealing with similar situation, a bunch of pills, patches, whatnot, like heavy narcotics. And I was just noticing that. I was living with them. And eventually I was like, Linda, is there any cannabis, any of my pot you want to smoke to help you maybe sleep or eat at night? She said, no, I can't. My kids are going to judge me. And then finally she just opened up, and then she still consumes it this day, I believe. And it helps her, just if you get a couple hours extra sleep at night, it's big. You can consume an extra meal a day to get those calories. That's big when you're on those heavy drugs that makes you not want to eat and makes you stay up at night. Right? It helps. So that's how I started growing. I became her grower because she wasn't, capable or wanted to do the growing part. And I was very intrigued, wanted to get in the game. Yeah. It just sparked it like that. And then, the rest has been history.
Damn.
Patience first, for real. That's my standard. Profit. It's nice making money, doing it, but at the end of the day, if there's one thing I want to accomplish, is helping people that actually truly want and need this. Yeah.
So there's people that are chasing the buck. They're chasing it's the gold rush, and we want to chase that, the green rush.
You'd be lying if you said you weren't.
Right. And that's definitely that's an aspect of it for sure. But for you had this entryway. Were these were friends of yours?
And they were like my second parents at the time, kind of thing. They were just taking me in. I needed a helping hand. They were there, and I was trying to kind of pay it back. And I wasn't even really trying to pay it back. I just seen a lady that I was out there smoking. She was smoking cigarettes, and then I was like, "You want some bowls?" And it finally took enough times of asking her to try it, and then she's like, "Oh, this actually does kind of help." Wow. Yeah,
that's amazing. That is amazing. So you got your start by literally just fulfilling a need for one person. That was just, this is a person that has cared for me, and obviously she and her family have taken me in and helped me out in a time of need. And now, we all, I think at some point, almost anybody feels that sense of, it's debt in a way, right? Whether it's debt we put on ourselves, where man, this person was so kind to me. They were so kind to me that I feel like I owe them something. So we've all kind of felt some level of that. And for you were in a unique position where sometimes I've been in places where somebody does something so kind for me and I can't even repay them because I don't have the capacity for whatever it would be of value to them, or the person that seemingly has everything. Yeah. That I don't have anything to provide them of value. And that's also a very beautiful characteristic of them, to do something so loving for somebody that they can't get anything. Yeah. And here you are in this position to receive this love from this family, but also that very unique position where you go, I have the ability to provide something. She doesn't even know.
Well, if anything, man, it was probably they were providing still more for me because they gave me an opportunity. Still, they gave me a place to grow, a place to live. Mm-hmm. Like, it was my first plant was up there at the hill.
Wow.
I still think about it right now. Vivid as day, man. It was just like, started this little seedling. It was a bag seed I got from my homie I was buying weed from. Yeah. Just hit the little tin. And I was like, oh, sweet, my first little seed. And I didn't really think much of it. And I popped it later and sprouted that little seed in my homie's closet. And then his dad was like, all, confused. Like, we were growing, some.
What's growing in my closet?
He thought the DA was going to show up and he's going to lose his job. And he was just like, think the feds were going to take his house that same day. Like, I was like, no, it's one plant. We're about to get the cards. We're compliant. Had contracts written up. Definitely got me up to speed to all right, this is a serious gig. This ain't no just growing tomatoes. So it's a little different, right. People want to compare it to tomatoes, but it's not.
Yeah. It's a different animal. I would say so. So that's kind of the origin story in a sense, right? But if you were to go back to your childhood, if you were to go back to whether it's young childhood or high school, right? What was that trend of what you thought you would become or be doing, or what you dreamt of doing when you were a young child in high school?
I always dreamed of being an athlete, professional athlete. So it started real young. I was into hockey. Didn't know a lick about it. I just thought it was cool, the gear and stuff. Yeah. up in Washington. That's where I was like, oh, I want to be a hockey player. And then that transition, I think basketball, football, baseball, everything. And then really just in high school, it's like, all right, I'm going to make the league, football, baseball, whatever sport I thought I was going to, make it whatever I wanted. And then, eventually you realize you ain't. I mean, some people, I play with guys that they were destined to go to the league.
Yeah.
Laerla, hate to even say it, but I mean, that boy was the most talented man I've ever seen play football, man. Like, beast. Yeah. But yeah, he could have gone. But yeah, the guys were, next to him. Yeah, we knew we wanted to, but we knew deep down we were.
Like,
but he's
the dude. You're like,
he should be playing right now.
That's
a whole other story too.
I know that feeling because I remember running track against, and I remember watching our high school play football against Jonathan Stewart. Snoop, he's the homie.
Up in Lacey, okay.
Yeah, in Lacey, same hometown, same church. Pastor Cecil is our youth pastor, Cecil Daniels. Shout out to him. Shout out to Snoop as well and his family, a new baby as well. I remember, and our whole town remembers watching him play ball, and it was something completely different. And you do see that difference, right?
Yeah, talent just outshines
by far. It's not even something that goes, wow, he's really good. It's that person is unstoppable. Yeah. When they decide, it just comes down to, do they decide to score right now, or are they going to wait a little bit to score? It's up to them, really, right? Yeah. So there's the difference. But I do want to ask a question on, you were talking hockey. That was the first thing that came out of your mouth. You're Blasian.
Yeah. You don't see too many.
What's the breakdown? Black and
Korean.
Black and Korean. That is not a common mix. That's not a common, well, I don't want to say that. That's not a commonly seen mix. And it's not a commonly seen either side, let alone the mix in the sport of hockey. And while we're sitting here talking about this is, I mean, this was in the 90s, I presume? 90s, early 2000s?
Late 90s, yeah.
And here we are in 2021. Any Black, any Asian, any Blasian kids out there, do you have a quick message for them for any, not just hockey, but any place that they might not see somebody that looks like them, that you want to just give some message to, of anything they're even considering, thinking, man, it's so cool that that person does that, but they don't see anybody that looks like them doing it? Is there any message that you would want to relay to kids like that?
I mean, I would just say, don't let anyone tell you no. Never. If you want something, I mean, as cliche as that sounds, like, that's really what it comes down to. If someone tells you no, prove them wrong. Really. I mean, I don't see too many brothers or people like me growing. Like, it's a very white dominant industry for sure.
Yeah.
Very. Tell to anyone I know that. I mean, most of my friends growing, they're white.
Yeah.
They don't say shit to me like, oh, you shouldn't be here. But I mean, it's like I prove them wrong day in and day out. So I mean, I think that's what it takes.
Yeah, for sure. I dig that. Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing, a big takeaway. If you are even considering, regardless of what you look like, regardless of what minority group you might belong to, whether that's I'm female and most engineers are male, or whatever the case is, if you don't see the people that look like you, don't take that as your decisive move that you shouldn't go there. You shouldn't go that route. Definitely pursue it, prove people wrong. It might be more challenging. You might not have the welcome that you would like to have or that you would prefer to have, but that doesn't mean you're not allowed. That doesn't mean you're not able, right? So
no, not at all.
Definitely pursue those. That's a big thing. I think it's that. Seriously, don't take that. That's a very, very, very important message. So thank you for sharing that. Now, when you're talking your parents, I'm curious. I mean, you grew up farming. Obviously, they're successful farmers. What are some lessons from your parents that stick with you today? And I'm curious about whether any of those lessons play a role in you feeling confident to where you can go, oh, I'm going to go play hockey, or I'm going to go do something. I'm going to go enter a space where people like me don't necessarily occupy yet, or anything that I've seen. Are there any lessons that pop up to you from your parents that you were just like,
I mean, from day one, they taught everyone. They teach everyone how to work really fucking hard, real hard.
Yeah.
And how to do it right. It's like, if you're going to do it and you're going to go out there, don't do it just all right, do it really fucking good.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't cuss, they don't say it like that. But I mean,
yeah, the emphasis
the point,
is
you know, it's
important.
like just do it really well.
Yeah.
And come back proud, you know, not just do it well, but come back like happy, like you did it well, like better than anyone else could. And that's really what stuck with me. But I mean, in recent, I would say like just my other point. I mean, they told me, like they're like, we ain't gonna support you in this weed growing business. When I came to them like years ago, asking for some help, which serves me right. I mean, who am I to come to them asking to come support me and get me started on this endeavor? They don't know anything about that. At the time was illegal to them. In their mind still is technically illegal federally. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, this is like kind of motivating me to go harder. Like I had to get my shit together and really buckle down and figure out if I really wanted it, because like they weren't going to want it for me. So it's like kind of teaching me the hard way with a lot of things. I mean, they are very strict, and if they do listen to this podcast and never hear this, it's like, yeah, I appreciate it, because a lot of people do get the easy road in the handout, where it's like it's not going to stick with them. Obviously, those lessons, it's like the hard times, what makes you great.
Yeah, for sure. So that was on my list of what I wanted to dive into. I really want to dig a little deeper, if we can, into this.
Definitely.
So one of the common things that I'm seeing, and it's very prevalent in people, and one of the very specific target groups that I want to talk to, I was sharing this earlier, is people who are really driven. They have that desire to just really be successful in whatever they pursue, but they don't just know what that is, or we don't really feel the specific answer to what our desire is. The desire is there, but we don't know the direction necessarily. So for folks like this, I'm trying to do service in unpacking this experience, right? You lived this experience where your parents, they taught you a lot of skills that you're using today, right? In growing
100%.
as a cannabis grower, right?
100%. Maybe not the hands-on actual like farming skills, like, hey, this is how you water a plant, but just the life skills it takes to live, because it's a lifestyle. Farming is a lifestyle. So like they already prepped me for like, okay, I feel like shit, I ain't trying to work today or water, do blah 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 blah. Like you still gotta do it. Plants don't care if you're tired or hungover. Like you still gotta wake up and do it. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you get a break. Obviously, there's balance to some extent, but like it's like you gotta have that consistency.
Mm-hmm. Right. So there's a lot of values that came from your parents, straight from your parents. But this is a route that might not necessarily be supported by them, or it's something that doesn't make them proud. It's something that
I think they are now. They've been growing hemp last 2 years, which is kind of like,
oh, nice.
They listen to us. Like I call it how it is. I mean, I'll say it straight up. They failed the last 2 years growing hemp. Like their shit molded out.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, the luck of the draw, they grow in the valley. So yeah, your ideal situations for harvesting properly outside and drying it is pretty much set to zero, which
because it's so moist.
Well, yeah, you can't field dry. You can't even hang it in a building with fans running. You have to have proper ACs, proper dehumidification to pull that moisture out. And where I'm at, stick built.
Set it out.
No, I said we hang it on plastic netting inside a building, like in a barn, pretty much. But it's a clean barn. No hay, no dust, just clean.
Yeah.
But it still gets the job done. Like you couldn't accomplish that here. You'd end up with a full building full of black moldy buds that you'd have to burn.
Yeah, got you. So, I guess to reframe that question, it's not necessarily that they wouldn't be proud, but it's something that
they're coming around with.
They're coming around, yeah. And when you made the decision, when you said, I'm going to go do this, right? Not even saying it to them out loud, but to yourself. When you made this decision, when you had that conversation, that internal dialogue, that you were going to go about this, did you know that this was something that would have some level of a wedge between you and your parents?
Well, at first, I didn't think it was going to, I knew it was already going to be a wedge. In high school, I would smoke, get caught. Mm-hmm. Didn't end up good for me. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I've been growing hemp. I started in THC cannabis 5 years ago, technically growing it.
Yeah.
And they definitely weren't supportive back then. And then fast forward to 2 years ago, I started growing hemp, which is more acceptable. Yeah. And then they started growing hemp, I believe that same year.
Oh, really?
Ago. Yeah. So my family's been growing hemp. They have their own operation going in Hillsborough. I have my own in Bend. My sister and her husband and her family they have big family. in Culver, which is, an hour away from me, like between my parents, a little bit closer to me, but pretty much between my parents and myself.
Yeah.
And they did well because they're in the high desert, more drier, environment. So they did pretty all right, I think. Successful harvest, whatnot. But it's like kind of bringing us now back full circle. It's kind of like that I don't even know how to, the metaphor or whatnot, but it's just like that thing that's just bringing us back, which is like was the most like opposite before, pretty much.
Right. So when you started out, like when you were going down this road, you knew this isn't something that they would approve of.
I already knew, yeah.
You knew that from the start.
I stuck with my guns.
What? How? What is it? So I want you to think back to before you made the decision, because you kind of sporadically just picked up and moved out to Bend to start this operation.
Yeah, I mean, I was growing a couple years here and there in Hillsboro. I mean, I'd sold my first harvest or outdoor to the dispensary here under medical still, before like the laws were all changed and whatnot. But it was kind of, I guess, a pretty proud moment to get it packaged up with my, Blooming Hills Farm, I think was what I was Blooming Hills Cannabis Farm or something was what I was repping under. Thought I was, had my whole branding. I was like, dude, this guy's only grown 2 harvests. This guy, it's like looking back, I laugh, man. I really do. Like, I saw my Instagram from that. It's like 50 followers. I'm just like, wow, what a time to change, man. But I'm definitely looking back and proud. That's all I can do is smile and laugh. But
yeah. So this is I'm baffled by this story. This is something that I think is really valuable to realize, right? You have this moment, you have this story. Your literal life story is one where so many people get caught. It's that one stage where so many people, I feel like, get stuck and turn back.
Like I've wanted to quit so many times along this journey, like more times than I could count.
Yeah. And you went from a place where you had this desire, you wanted to do the thing, you knew that this wouldn't be something necessarily to make your parents proud, but it's what you wanted to do. You decided to do it. You faced a ton of challenges along the way where you wanted to quit, you wanted to give up, you wanted to do all this stuff. How is it that you can stay optimistic? Because for most of us, right, when we have the idea, we picture it big. We picture us hitting it 100%, big, right?
I thought I'd already be walking through facilities. When I say a facility, we're talking warehouses, but not
hundreds of thousands of square feet of product, of plant, of whatever, right? And that could be the case for anything, whatever that may be. We picture success so big before we take the leap.
Even before we even taste a slice of what it even is.
Right. So how do you go from envisioning this before you've even let your parents know, before whether you're going to have the conversation or they just find out, right? Before you let them know, you have this vision of great success. How do you go from that to letting your parents know, to pursuing the thing, failing, keep going, failing, keep going? How do you maintain optimism through the entire process of that?
I mean, the plant is probably the number one driving force, but the failure, learning through the failure is the biggest thing, man. I mean, like, it's not like I love it. It's like I look forward to failure, but I embrace it 100%. It's like if I make a mistake, or if I didn't set something up right in the grow room or in the greenhouse, or if I should have done step 5 at step 2 or something, like on the build or something. It's like, fuck, could have done. I'll do it faster next time and do it better. But just take a page out of that book, look at it, kind of crumble up, and then move on. That's kind of my mentality right now. But still remember what that page, what the words were on. Like, it's like the lessons. Like, you better learn that lesson because you don't want to repeat that same mistake twice, pretty much.
Right.
So I'd say that's how I embrace it day in and day out.
So the big piece of optimism here, embracing the failure. I mean,
because it's going to come. You can't predict it. You can't. I mean, you can control it to some extent. You can stay in bed all day, I guess. I mean, but you're still failing yourself at that point. But I mean, you gotta go outside at some point and get something done, right? So it's like you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna really fuck up. You're gonna do stuff on accident, even like so. But it's how you bounce back from those and get up every time. You got to.
Yeah. So I love that shit. Honestly, I think I heard that so many times over the years from successful people. The gurus of entrepreneurship, the self-help gurus, everything. Failure, embrace failure, all these things. And it didn't really click for me until recently, right? Where it was, a movement from embrace failure, all these things, to no, genuinely embrace failure. But what I love about what you said is there's a distinction between seeking failure or warm welcoming of failure, right? And that's how I always interpreted it. Is I would hear these guys and gals talk about, oh yeah, failure, welcome failure, and I'm like, when I welcome somebody, it's an open arm embrace.
Not about biting it in.
Right. And that's the thing, is that's what I love about how you described it. You're not inviting failure in. That's not what you're doing. But when failure occurs, you're keeping it real with yourself. You're being honest. You're being very transparent. You're keeping 100. Like what you said, you're like, my parents with the hemp growing and everything, they failed and it was moldy and all that, and you keep it real. That's the importance I've found, is you have to be honest and clear about what is going on. And if it is failure, that's what you embrace, and then you learn from it. It's not to say, I'm opening up to failure, I hope I fail so much. That's not it, right?
Never.
That's definitely not it.
That's just setting yourself up for disaster if that's what you wish. I mean, you draw the energy in that you attract, right?
Exactly. So it's not about, I'm hoping for failure, I'm pursuing failure. No, you're pursuing greatness. You want great success, whatever that is, whatever pursuit that is. And when failure arrives, you address it. You don't hide from it. You don't run from it. You don't disguise it. You have to keep it real. Yo, I failed at this. Let me see why I failed at it. Let me fix it. And let me put into place a system that will make sure I avoid that type of failure moving forward. So that any other failure is going to be a different type, a different style of failure. I don't fail the same way again.
Yeah, and then you learn just how to react better too, because in those heated moments, in those times where it just happens like that, like it obviously catches you off guard, where you just have a split second to react either positively or negatively. And I've done, a lot of negative reactions a lot lately, or not even lately, but just like throughout my life. Just cumulative, and where I'm just learning now, just like, all right, I can't react like that, otherwise it's going to set me back even farther.
Yeah, for sure. So when you have failure, there's levels to this shit, right? So you have failure, and then if you react to it in a certain way, that makes your failure even worse.
Yeah.
Than if you react in a different way.
Well, so, it's usually a relationship, so it's usually involved in someone. So if you're gonna take it out on someone's like, well, they don't deserve it, so you're gonna exponentially make it worse.
Right.
Compounding, the mistake even worse. Adding more work.
Exactly. I agree with that 100%. All right. To tie a nice little bow on top of this, we'll close with something here that I think this was genuinely fruitful, and there's hopefully some things here that will take somebody who's in a position full of desire, full of passion to do something, but they don't necessarily know. I think there's some real good nuggets here. I mean, you talked about moving from growing up and developing skills from your family and taking the lessons that they taught you, applying it to your life. You talked about growing in yourself, growing in your spirit into a position where you go from, I know my parents won't necessarily be in agreement with what I want to pursue, but I'm passionate about it. And it's something that you really do feel you're doing good, right? We talked about the health aspect. You're providing something that is a healthy aspect, which we still didn't place it on the nutrition pyramid necessarily. For you specifically, you placed it at the bottom, the biggest chunk. The foundation. Yeah, so we still need to get to that, which we will in a moment. But you talked about that, right? Providing value and providing, there's purpose here. Mrs. Hill that you helped out, that she was on these chemical concoctions of drugs. You found a place where you could help her out in a much more holistic way. And she obviously benefited from that, which is a beautiful, beautiful relationship, I think. And also the optimism that you have to have if you're going to move from an idea to action on something, but especially so when it's action that might not make your parents proud right away. But what it sounds like, which is really cool, is your parents have not only come around, but your whole family has actually gotten closer, and you guys can now kind of bond over the same things.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing thing. And I find that that's kind of how things go a lot of the time for folks that do go against whatever their family norms are, whatever the family pursuit is that would make them proud, when you go against that, and it really is for the pursuit of something better, something full of purpose, something that will better the world, better the community, I've found that in most cases, it really does bring the family together, because sometimes they just don't know, right? Sometimes they're just not aware of that different perspective. You know, they're just so set in what they know or what they think, and you just have a different set of experiences. You have different information, you have different set of interactions with people, whether that's governments or laws or legality or anything, right? Medicinally, there's so much involved here. So sometimes it just takes you to take that step outside of what would make them proud initially, and they'll ultimately come around and realize, wow, we really are proud of you, and we didn't see it. And that's what it sounds like you're kind of reaching and have reached with the family. The last piece I want to gather here, the last piece. What would you say, whether you did this intentionally or you look back now and you're just like, wow, I didn't realize it at the time, but it really helped me out a lot, right? What would you say is something you did that helped you to pursue your desires, right? You faced the pursuit of your desires and against what is the most core to who you are, your parents. That's what holds so many people back. That's kind of like the final boss. If you can go against your boss. Yeah, if you play video games, you know the final boss. Like, if you can go against your parents, then you won the game. You know, if you can go against that final boss for whatever your pursuit is, then you win the game. What would you say is something that's an actionable thing that people can really do? Whether it's, you know, for you were just, you know, you said multiple times you got caught smoking weed, and you just enjoyed it, right? Like that was your thing, and so you pursued it for you. It wasn't you. It doesn't sound like anyway you were smoking for somebody else's pleasure or anything. It was just for you. So, what is it that's something actionable people can do that you could say, you know, if you really are going to get to a point to where you can pursue your desire and do it in the face of the final boss, right? What is that thing that you would recommend, or that you say, at least for you, it worked for you to do it this way? What's the actionable item?
I mean, probably myself was my biggest hurdle. I would always just hold myself back, like, oh, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough resources. I don't have enough support. I don't have enough network. I don't know enough people. Like, it would always be something else other than like what I can control. And like the only person you can control at the end of the day is yourself. So you got to look yourself in the mirror, find some action to take, and then just go from there, which was just like, for me, it was just packing up $50 and moving the Bend and just hoping for the best. I mean, probably wasn't the smartest decision. I look back on it now, like, oh shit. I mean, I obviously could have came back to, you know, the valley and figured some stuff out, but I had too much pride at that point to make that decision to probably do that. So I would have stuck it out, and then I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna say a lot of people just hold themselves back. Just, I don't know, like scared, or just feeling like they might fail, which you will. Yeah. Big or small sometimes. I mean, but you'll never fail unless you try. So I'd say like that's the biggest hurdle you have to get over, which for me it wasn't, because I'm, you know, with modeling, you gotta go out and get it yourself. I mean, so I think that kind of was a stepping stone to get me to be like, all right, let's take the next step further and see what you really want. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I never really wanted to be a model or do modeling. It was just kind of, you know, fell into that, to be honest. But I mean, I enjoy it, to say the least, but I knew it wasn't the path I wanted to take for the rest of my life. Yeah. But now I feel like, you know, I'm kind of at a place where like, yeah, I like what I do.
Yeah. That's solid. So you have to address yourself, and you have to take action. You have to actually do the thing and forget about all the reasons why you can't do it.
We have to like take inventory of yourself and just figure out, okay, this is what I'm good at. This is what I need to work on. This is my strengths and weaknesses, and just kind of make a plan and go from there. And like, obviously you got other outside like elements pulling and, you know, tugging at you, like kind of controlling your time. If you have a lady or a boyfriend or another person you're supporting, a parent, a brother, a sister, a kid. I mean, there's a lot. I'm just on myself, so I've definitely had a lot of time just to work on just that aspect. Yeah. A lot of people I know don't have that, so it's just like that balance as well. Like, a lot of people wish, oh, I wish I had the time to do what you do, but I have a wife and, you know, a kid, and I got to take care of my dog and stuff. So, well, I don't really know what to say because I'm not in that position. So it's like, I don't know, man. It's like, I guess you got to figure it out. But I mean, it's easier said than done, obviously. So it's like, just kind of knowing what you want, I guess.
Yeah. I think in those positions, like having a family to take care of, or pets or anything, I think what's really important is, again, it comes down to asking a better question, right? It's not a question of, can I do this or can I not? It's not a question of how much time can I give to this? How much can I not? Right? Because you already have 24 hours in a day occupied by stuff. We all already have that. Whatever that stuff is, we all already have that 24 hours occupied. So when you ask better questions, that's when you become better at gaining the results you're after. So instead of those questions, you can ask something along the lines of, how can I strengthen both my family relationships and my personal or professional desires? How can I build and grow cannabis and a cannabis farm while simultaneously increasing the quality of my family relationships? And when you ask a question like this, then you start to go from, do I have the time? No, I don't have the time. 24 hours is already occupied in my day. It goes from that, and the shift goes to, well, what if I took my wife and my kid out and we had a day where we all tilled the land together and we all planted seeds together and we all had a little spray fight with the hose and mud fight or something like this together? Now that turns into a very beautiful bonding experience, and you get the best of both because you get that family time and you get that time to build whatever it is that you're really after. So those questions are really, really important to ask when you get down to, what the hell do I want for my life? What is this desire that I feel like I really want, and how bad do I want it? Because if I want it bad enough, I'll figure out how to get both. I'll figure out how to have a better relationship with my wife or my husband and my child, and also pursue the farming or the business of whatever it is, right? There's something there. So I think that taking inventory of yourself, that's an important part. So that's a beautiful takeaway. And from what it sounds like, you feel, or you sound pretty fulfilled in what you've done so far, and you're not even at that point where you've envisioned the massive success. You're still on the road.
Oh no, I'm still like rookie, I feel like.
Right. And but you, even in this phase, you still feel very fulfilled.
Oh yeah, I definitely probably haven't felt more content than I have in a while. Like,
yeah,
very, very content. Very, I wouldn't say happy, but very, very pleased with just the direction of where things are going. I mean, like, I can't deny that for sure.
Dope.
Lots gotten done.
I love it. Well, dude, we'll wrap it up right here. I think this was super, super fun. I'm really damn glad serendipitously just met on this shoot tonight, and here we are recording right afterwards. Just spread the moment. And
getting it in.
Yeah, for sure. And this is kind of what it's about, right? No excuses.
Yeah.
We could have said, oh, no, I don't have anything planned. I don't have any of this. I don't have any of that. We just made it happen. And this is to a testament of what you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, whether
exactly.
you missed the first one, gotta start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Just gotta start.
I love it, man.
Go for it.
I love it. Well, much love, everybody listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I hope there's a beautiful takeaway for you to take into your life and your family's lives. And then, until next time. Peace.